Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you're ready to kickstart your day with me, Maha Mukhtim, only on PTV World this morning. And it is only me today, but we have a fantastic show lined up for you. This week, we've seen that we've been observing a lot of international days because at the end of the year, there seems to be a lot of work and emphasis and push into what is happening socially, who are the people that are marginalized, who are the vulnerable people. And we've been trying to raise awareness of all the really important days that we feel that should be highlighted and what is happening within Pakistan in regards to this. So today is very important. I'm really happy because I've been wanting some of these guests on here for a while. But today we are observing the International Day of People Living with Disabilities. It was started in 1992. It is tomorrow. It is the reason why we're observing it today because it is so important and we wanted to catch up because it's been a while. The whole point of observing the day is to get a better understanding as to what the situation is for people living with disabilities within Pakistan, how we are faring in regards to the rest of the world. It is also about creating other people's awareness, their understanding, and so that it could lead to more dignity, it could lead to more respect for people and lead to more inclusive society, because I think majority of the people within Pakistan, we're not aware of the benefits of an all-inclusive society and what people can bring to the table despite their differences. So to discuss this situation, we've been joined by some wonderful people who have been working on this non-stop for most of their lives, and they've been working tirelessly. And we'll find out what's happened since last year, what's been happening, what are the progressions, what are the hurdles that we're still facing, and how can we overcome them to achieve the 17 goals. The theme is achieving 17 goals for the future we want. So to discuss this, we've been very lucky. We've been joined by Mr. Atif Sheikh. He is the Executive Director of STEP. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Besides Mr. Atif Sheikh, we have been joined by Zulkarnain Asghar. He is the president of Potahar Mental Health Association. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Besides Zulkarnain, we've been joined by Anita Gardezi. She is a poet. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Besides Anita, we have been joined by Ms. Abia Akram. She is the CEO of the National Forum of Women with Disabilities. Hey. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Hey. Okay, so let me start with you, Atif. Last year we discussed what was happening, the importance of it for Pakistan. Now, 2016, why is it imperative that we are highlighting this? We're having a show today for the day tomorrow.
Actually, first of all, I must acknowledge PTV for highlighting this issue on international, not only on international days, but also giving the appropriate coverage to the issue in news and media, other programs. Last year, when we were celebrating this day, we discussed about the government policies, how far we have been successful to achieve that people with disabilities.
Yes.
The issue of disability has been addressed by policies. But so far, like this year, we are observing this day with the theme that 17 goals of SDGs and where is the disability in all these 17 goals. We have seen that in MDGs, which were like expired in 2015, disability was not mentioned at all.
Yeah.
But the development world, the development organization realized that without addressing disability in the development, we can't achieve an inclusive society or a development for all. Like, for example, it was mentioned in MDGs, education for all, but disability was not included. So how can you say that it is education for all? It is education for few. But in SDGs, luckily, disability has been addressed with indicators very clearly at every point. And now it's the responsibility of the states to compile their policies in line with not only UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but also address their disability in their development programs. And one thing which we are celebrating today, that in Pakistan's 2030 vision, 2030, disability is included.
It's included, great.
But we need to work on the practical things. Okay. It's not only the rhetoric or only the word which has been mentioned.
Okay, I will discuss how to actually put these words into practice. But before we move on to that, I'd like to ask Abia, you've been doing a lot of work. You've been traveling a lot over the last year as well. So tell us, to you, why is it important that people are aware that there is a day, that there are still issues to be made? to highlight it. Sorry.
Thank you very much. I would say, like, International Day of Person with Disabilities, it's not only celebrating in Pakistan, but all over the world people are celebrating, having lots of conferences and meetings and different dialogues and discussions.
Yeah.
Because we thought, like, this is the day where we could maximum provide the information and also link it and prepare our action plan for the next whole year. Because last year when we came here at the same talk here, we were talking about few people with disabilities, how they are struggling in their lives, how they are sharing their personal stories. They have in good families, having good education. Now they want to go somewhere. But today we have a huge number of persons with disability. When we talk about women with disabilities, now at least they realize, and the reason why we have selected this theme for the year, the 17 goals to achieve, because we have the political will for the sustainable development goals.
Excellent.
So this is a very good point. Like, all the state parties or everyone is responsible to implement the sustainable development goals. And fortunately, we have included 11 references on disability. It's very good achievement, because in the MDGs, as Atif already mentioned, like, it was not there. So
Okay.
now in the sustainable development goals, we have 11 references on disability, which means we have to implement those and integrate, and also the word all used in several times, more than 100 times. So how we could include and make sure everyone is getting the opportunity. It's not about only the disability, but all the other vulnerable groups like poor, widows or children, migrant workers, all these people will be included, especially the older people. And if you have the disabilities within those groups, so they also need to be highlighted. They need more support in the inclusion.
Okay, wonderful. So now let's get on to the conversation. Zulkarnain, you're representing Purtahar. It's a mental health organization. So now these 17 sustainable development goals, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, how are these being implemented since we spoke to you last year on ground level?
Okay, on ground level, there are certain changes. First of all, I would like to say.
Please, yes, let's highlight those.
First, State Bank has issued notification for all banks for accessible banking.
Okay.
And that has been in place in some banks, which is really good thing, because now some banks are accessible, not all. Second thing is, if we look at in detail, if we talk about those goals, there are some changes and legislative changes, and we need to implement those things. For implementation, we need to address those things. And in development sector, if we talk about these 17 goals, sustainable goals, so we need to understand, without addressing these disability, nothing could be achieved, because we are 15% of the population. That is a huge number.
Yeah.
And now we are addressing these issues every year on every forum. That means we are educating people. Okay. And I must acknowledge PTV's effort, because you people are highlighting this issue in every year, and you give us proper space and proper coverage. And most important thing is that now Election Commission and all other institutions have realized person with disabilities needs, and they are setting up their structure, and there is need to address those things, because they made some changes in their legislation policies, and we need to understand, we need to implement those things. Implementation is really tough, but we will work for that.
Excellent. And we will talk about more how you guys are trying to increase the implementation and the effectiveness of all these legislations. But let me bring Anita into the conversation. Anita, you're not representing an organization, but it's very important to talk about the social aspect of it. So tell us, why is it important for you to make people aware of people living with disabilities and the hurdles they're facing?
First of all, I said thanks to PTV that they recognize us, and they celebrate a day for us. I want to tell you that the person with disability, he our society hurt him. Our society did not recognize him. They did not treat as a normal person. That's why they lost their spirit. And they did not want to do anything.
Okay.
They lost their all spirit to do anything. If they want to do anything, but when they watch the behaviors of an other which are normal person, then they think that they are nothing.
Okay.
They are useless.
Okay, so there's a lot of psychology involved with it. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now let me bring you back into the conversation, Atif. Since last year, you guys every year you set your goals for the next year. So you've been working tirelessly. I've been seeing you all over social media and on the reports for the news. Tell us what headway have we made in regards to achieving these sustainable goals? So no poverty, education for all, better health stuff. I can't think of
health issues.
healthcare as well.
Yes. Actually, every achievement of every international commitment or every international goal is connected to the local action.
Okay.
Whatever is being done anywhere in the world, at the grassroots level, at the urban level, or wherever, it's somehow connected with the achievement of these goals. For example, let me give you a very interesting thing which Pakistan has achieved in last year, since we observed the last day, and today we are in 2016. There is a gender and disability working group for inclusive elections has been established in the Election Commission of Pakistan, which is a big achievement. That at least Election Commission is interested to include person with disabilities in the electoral and political process, which is one of the achievement of the goal, which is a contribution in the achievement of a goal.
Excellent.
Ministry of IT, Government of Pakistan, they have established ICT accessibility task force to make all the websites of the government offices fully accessible for the visually impaired person, which is again a significant step towards an inclusive society and an inclusive information system. Likewise, we have a disability inclusion task force at the National Disaster Management Authority, which is called Aging and Disability Task Force, ADTF. So that means discussions and responsibilities have been started, like responsibilities have been taken. So now the only issue, let me give for the people like who are not aware of SDGs or all these documents, but they are watching this program, so it's really worth mentioning here. Government of Pakistan has ratified UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2011.
Okay.
Then Government of Pakistan has endorsed Insurance Strategy, which is a sub-regional mechanism for disability mainstreaming in 2013. And now SDGs are adopted. So all these documents require that countries should make their policies or legislation inclusive and in line with all these international commitments. So now Pakistan is, the Government of Pakistan, DPOs, Disabled People Organization, NGOs, private sector, they are all trying to have at least one legislation which is addressing the issues of disabled persons all over the country. We have only one ordinance, which is our Ordinance 1981 for the rehabilitation and employment of disabled persons, and which was addressing only the quota and rehabilitation issue. But we need a rights-based legislation in line with these international commitments. So we are a little bit moving toward that. And one more achievement which I must celebrate today and mention to all of the people with disabilities in Pakistan, that Government Ministry of Human Rights has established a committee on the implementation of UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Wonderful.
So again, like we are moving towards the right direction, and probably next year we will celebrate the achievements and landmarks of these committees.
And I'm sure we will, because you guys are working like non-stop on this. Abia, you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm just talking from the different perspective, because when we talk about the rights of women and girls with disabilities, still we can't have anything to celebrate at the moment, I would say.
That was my next question for you, as in, because you're working specifically for women.
For women.
What have we seen improvements and what are the
Exactly.
hurdles?
We have in last 1 year we tried to approach those women with disabilities from the very grassroots level areas. So we have conducted almost 90 sessions all over the country for the rights and awareness raising for the women with disabilities on the gender-based violence, harassment, and all. Because this is, very critical point where we see as human being, as women, and then as a community or a human right defender. So coming on that point, first you need to acknowledge we are human beings, and then we are women, so we have lots of rights, and then coming to the development society, we have to work as activists.
Okay, but we spoke about this last time you were
Yes.
here. Now, have we seen an improvement in people recognizing women with disabilities as women first, then as as human beings, and then everything secondary? Have we seen any improvement?
Yes, we have seen successfully, like all the women with disabilities, at least they are contributing.
Okay.
They realize like it is our responsibility to work for other women with disabilities. So we have started the peer support groups in all over the country. So those women with disabilities who are from the grassroots level, so they can get understanding. And also through the disabled people organizations, we are implementing some of the activities, the leadership, gender and disability trainings for them. We have done some work on the vocational and rehabilitation activities, so they get the 3 months training course sitting in the home.
Wonderful.
And they could become, somehow get all this information, and we will connect them with the employment opportunities and connecting it with the Women Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce. and
Okay,
all.
but now let me ask you one thing. This is fantastic, and it's all about empowering. But in regards to educating the families of these, rural women, now they have other issues. They have other issues on top of this. The fact that economic, putting food on the table, the security, safety, all these things. Are they coming onto the same page as you guys, realizing that their child needs all these opportunities?
Yeah, we can't say like it's 100% done, but
No, of
at
course
least we have started from somewhere. At least through the
I'm
media,
asking
we
about
are
the
giving
reaction.
that information, and people are accepting that.
Okay, great.
Because they are, coming forth as bringing that women and girls with disabilities are quite important role have to play, but it's very, it will take time. Maybe 1 month or 1 year or 2 years, but at least changing one person's life could bring up.
Exactly. One person is still very important.
Actually, I've heard like from one of my teachers when I was studying in England that if you would like to have a look at the standard of health services or quality of health services and all other services in the country, or the quality of life, in fact. Just have a look on the life of a severely person with disability in that country. What facilities they are getting. Then you can analyze that what other people who are so-called without disability, what they are getting in this country. So if the quality of life for severe person with disabilities is good, that means the person without disability and person with little mild disability, they are getting better life.
Okay.
I would like to add
Please,
here
yes.
2 things, Sarah. First, we need to acknowledge this. Okay, there are some changes, but person living with disabilities, this is quite diverse area. Every disability has different needs, and we need to understand this. And to educate educate the masses, we need to acknowledge this. Okay, we have those expertise, right? If individual with sensory impairment, individual with physical impairment, individual with intellectual impairment, all these 3 groups have different needs, and those needs must be jot down on policy level, and those needs must be addressed and at implementation level. I was going to the back point, previous point when Atif was saying we need proper one legislation. We need only one legislation, but comprehensive legislation that address all needs, and there must be budget allocation, and those things can't be addressed without including person with living with disabilities, especially at policy level, legislation, and in parliaments.
There has
all
to be a
parliaments.
trickle-down effect. Now, what Zulkarnain has just said, Atif, are we? I mean, then I'll come to you, Abia. Are we doing that? Are we working towards this all inclusive, comprehensive legislative
As I
policy?
mentioned that Pakistan has ratified UN Convention in 2011.
Yes.
But still we haven't done anything so far. So we just recently in this year the committee has been established. to
Okay, so
monitor the law.
so from last year we've seen this year the committee is being established.
Yes, and secondly, for the legislation, like we need two types of legislation.
Yeah.
Number one, disability rights legislation. Number three, number one is the overall anti-discrimination law, and secondly, every ministry, every department has to include disability within their own policy framework.
Okay.
Then we can achieve an inclusive legislation in the country. It takes time. It took only 25 years in the United States. Yeah. It took 22 years in Japan. So we have just started. So unfortunately, it will take decade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and Abia.
Yeah, I think the same. It will take time because it's not a one-day thing to happen, but we also need to work together with all the key stakeholders, and also not only focusing on the disability, but other frameworks.
Okay.
How the inclusive development is going to happen.
Okay.
So,
And then on that note, we're going to discuss that, but we're going to go for a short break. And when you come back, we'll continue discussing the situation for people living with disabilities in Pakistan. Stay tuned.
The largest cultural activity in Pakistan is the annual National Folk Festival, Lok Mela, held in Islamabad in October each year. Over the past 2 decades, this festival has taken on an international flavor, and more than 20 different countries have sent their artisans and performers to participate in the festival. Nationally, the festival has become a thing of pride for artisans and performers who come on their own to participate. Most important of all, the provinces of Pakistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir put up beautifully decorated pavilions, and visitors had the unique opportunity to see an assortment of Pakistan's traditionally rich culture in the federal capital of Islamabad.
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we are observing International Day of People with Disabilities. However, it is tomorrow, but it's Saturday. But it's very important that we highlight it. And before the break, Abia was telling us about the hurdles that women face, what's happening within Pakistan, how we are achieving the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now, you mentioned before the break other frameworks that we need to focus on and implement and create. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's very important to review the disability on a holistic way, not only focused on the disability concerns and the barriers. It's very important to do the research work. What are the other frameworks, how we could make it more inclusive and include the rights of persons with disabilities in education, in health. So the national constitutions or the policies need to be reviewed in a way like we are including the concerns of women and girls with disability, person with disabilities, older people, everyone. And also the research is really important because we need to build the capacity of disabled people organization so they can conduct the further research thing. And in the research they identify, also focus on the data, because data is completely missing in the whole structure, and we have seen only the 1998 census, and according to that it's 2.4 something, and we are about 10 to 15% of the total population. So why is this a huge gap is there? And also now the new census, the questionnaire, they didn't included any of the specific questions on disability. So this is another barrier, like we are again going to miss the counting of persons with disabilities, unfortunately.
Okay, so now
I second Abhya, and I must say here, we need to on the basis of research, we need to review our definition of disability specifically in Pakistani context, because in census we missed out data because of the definition. Definition doesn't imply all kind of disability, because I've earlier mentioned disability is quite diverse field.
Absolutely.
And definition is quite narrow, and questions are not appropriate, drafted first in first step. In second step, staff is not proper trained. That's the main point. That's why data is missing and proper researches are not available.
Okay, now Zulkarnain has highlighted about something very important. Now, like we've talked about, since 2011, Pakistan's they ratified it, they're part of it. Implementation is there, but it's slower. The government have now established the commission. But these things are still happening. You're still getting questionnaires where people are being excluded. Why are we still lacking on that initial startup for inclusion and achieving these goals?
Because due to lack of education, people are not well educated. Second step is because due to our attitude. Because if voices are not, loud, we used to ignore those voices. That is the reason. Because as a society, we think we give priority to the higher voices. People, those are higher, they work as a pressure group, and person with disabilities are scattered in all part of the country, and they are not being listened. That's their voices are not being loud. That's why we are not being heard.
Summing up what Zulkarnain said. People with disabilities are not represented in the parliament. The 10% population. If their voice is not being heard at the decision-making level, how you can imagine that person?
So are we working on this?
Yes, a lot. As I mentioned, that once it's a step-by-step process.
I hope to see you two there.
Then I will not attend this program much frequently. Like, people with disabilities need to be engaged at the grassroots political process. Like they are appearing as they are running for the candidature of local elections. They are coming. They are casting at least their vote. So still, the political process and the electoral system is not inclusive. So they can come up with the step-by-step process to the top level, and we need person with disabilities in the parliament. We need a representation, a reserved seat for the people with disabilities. Once they have a seat on the table, then the policies will be inclusive.
Wonderful. And Abi, I want to ask you, in regards to when we have reserved seats, but we don't have...
Exactly. For women, there is space. For women with disabilities, there is no space. So we are working with the Women Parliament Caucus, and they are very happy to support this initiative. Even last year, we have announced the awards for women and girls with disability. So this will happen this year in 2017, and we want all the women with disabilities to send a nomination. So that will be a great step to start with, because we need to highlight the role of women with disability. Not only the women with disability, but the women who are contributing in the disability movement, who are
Wonderful.
having the understanding about the sustainable development goals, who are having very clear understanding and contribution in the overall development. So we need those kind of change makers who can change the picture, because we have seen in the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, the committee have established in the UN recently got the elections, and only one woman with disability got selected out of 18. So it's a shame, like we are still standing behind, we don't have the good representation of the global level. So how we could perceive from the country's perspective, and I could proudly say Pakistan is the only country who have very good strong network of women with disability. We are connected with the National Commission on the Status of Women. We have contributed on the Beijing 20+ review.
And I would say you guys are doing a great amount of work, and you know, especially over the last few years, it's fantastic.
And it's not possible for one person. It's a joint, comprehensive work of all the women with disabilities who are facing these barriers.
Not only
Absolutely.
women
Because
with
if we
disabilities, but
don't-
also men with disabilities.
Yes,
It's
so
very
she
important
represents even
part.
women, so she's allowed to. But before I move on to you guys, now I want to bring Anita back into the conversation, because you know, Abi has highlighted it's about women who are contributing, who are part of the movement, and who are, you know, joining their hands together and making their voices heard. Now, Anita, you're a poet as well, so tell us, how have you overcome the hurdles, and how have you managed to, you know, create a life for yourself in Pakistan despite, you know, being sidelined? And
When doctor diagnoses that it is nystagmus and it have no treatment, then I have heart. Heart means I think that my life has nothing. Then
So,
after it, my family and doctors and other people encourage me that this is not a huge thing, you can do everything.
Great.
Then my doctor treat me as very well, very well. I said thanks to my doctors and my family that encourage me on every form.
Okay,
on
and
every
tell me,
forum.
where are you from?
I am from Azad Kashmir.
Wonderful. And so in regards to the support system from your family, how important was that? How did it make you feel that, okay, my parents are behind me, maybe, you know, people outside the, you know, on the streets are not so understanding? How did it make you feel?
I watched some people, I have seen that they treat it as a they treat disabled as a disabled as family members. Family members totally reject them and totally ignore them as a disabled, but my family support me, and I am thankful to you, thankful to my parents and my sister and brother and all my family that they did not feel me I am disabled.
Okay, so they didn't show that there was any kind of weakness or shortcoming in you. That's
yes,
fantastic.
and I want to ask all disabled female which are with any disability that disability is not a huge problem.
Okay.
Don't don't think that you are disabled. You can do something and more thing with your disability. I wrote something.
Yes.
That
Are you going to share it with us? Share it
yes,
with us. Yes.
never give up, never cry. Never give up, never cry. Fly towards high and high. Never give up, never cry. Fly towards high and high. You are able, you are the best. You are able, you are the best. You can fly up to the sky. Don't consider you are disabled. Don't consider you are disabled. For every aim, try, try and try. For every aim, try, try and try. Don't lose your spirit on any time. You are the best and you can do everything. You are the best and you can do everything. Then you are sad and heartbroken. Why? It's my question to all disabled that you are sad, why?
Okay.
Because-
Abhay, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think we need to celebrate our, not only the day, but our disabilities as well.
Yes.
Because this is a point you have mentioned. it's very important how you perceive yourself, and your family members are the biggest support. If they convince and they understand like disability is a different lifestyle, definitely they will bring you up. But now we need a sustainable plan for women and girls with disabilities, for all persons with disabilities, because we have seen small projects, activities. This is really good to bring the voices, but now we need long-term plans where we could see the change in the whole family and whole lifestyle of a person with disability. When we talk about women with disabilities, they need the employment opportunities. They want to support their families because they are not getting married. They have to earn by their own and supporting their families and live a dignified life. So this is the point where we acknowledge all the rights, we talk about their challenges, barriers, but practically
Yes, because the families do take advantage of it. I mean, I've been noticing even on the streets here, there's the brother and sister,
Yeah,
and the
actually-
brother has got some mental health problems, and there's another guy standing out there with his bag, and it's kind
it's
of
a misinterpretation of the charity model of disability. Like people think that people with disabilities are always deserving, always demanding, but it's not true.
Okay.
And secondly, the medical model is very common, that people with disabilities need to be treated and they need to be collected. So it's a wrong concept. Now the whole world is moving towards the social model of disability.
Right, this
Like
model.
in social model, like you have to accept your disability as a different lifestyle. For example, like all four of us are sitting here in this morning show just because we have accepted our disability as diversity.
Yes.
So that's why we are speaking
That's
to the
the
millions of people and they are
course,
watching
yeah.
us. If we don't accept our disability as diversity, then we will remain struggling for the treatment, rehabilitation, and end up on charity.
okay.
Okay, I'd like to add over here two
Please.
things. We need to have collective effort.
It's okay. Don't worry.
We need to have collective effort because without collective effort we cannot achieve our goals. Second, we need to educate, not only educate individual with disabilities, we need to educate the masses because that's the very important point where person with disabilities work. And
Okay, it's okay, don't worry. Okay, now in regards to educating, I'm going to pause you there for a moment because yes. Okay, sorry.
last point
Yeah, sorry.
in this conversation, if one person earns something, that means he or she is a contributing member of a family, then he is not considered as a disabled person.
Yes.
That is the point where things get changed.
So basically starts from the awareness and education from the beginning. Now I want to ask Abia, there's a lot of people who work for people with disabilities, try to understand awareness, and we've done this on loads of other issues as well, health issues, etc., social issues. Now, when you actually look down to it, are people actually working together for the same goal? Or like you said, is there individual efforts and there needs to be a greater cohesion? Or is there no cohesion at all? Like what's happening?
I think it's important to have a joint collaborative work. This is the whole aspect
But
of
do we have that
bringing-
within Pakistan?
Yes, we do have. We are connecting with our disabled people organizations, very well connected all over the country. We have a great network of disabled people organizations. At the same time, we have good efforts connected to the Aging and Disability Task Force, CVID, and all different networks, how they are collaborating with the disabled people organizations, the government, the international organization. But the only gap we feel, it's more linkages with the government or the implementing bodies and the policy makers, how they are connect with us and how they are bringing the space more representation of persons with disabilities. And I think successfully done through the task forces they have created.
Okay.
Now we are wanting a national commission on the status of person with disability.
Okay.
Because in that way we will connect everyone together and bring our official voice to the parliament, to the higher officials everywhere. So the national commission is much needed. Number two, representation in the parliament is also, you know, it's
Imperative.
a very important role to play. And thirdly, within the Sustainable Development Task Force established by the Women Parliament Caucus, it's very important to have the connections with them, and some other key stakeholders need to be connected.
Okay, wonderful. And if I, yes, Anita.
I want to say something that before the efforts on every platform, disabled have to trust on him or herself, because they lost their spirit and they did not do anything. They cannot do anything. When we lost our spirit, then nobody can do
absolutely
anything.
There's a desire, motivation.
It's up to us that we recognize that we trust on ourselves. We think that we are something.
Absolutely.
And we can do everything.
Absolutely. And we are running out of time. So any last words out there before we wrap up?
For this year, I would give a message to the people with disabilities, particularly not to the people who are at the decision-making lab. People with disabilities has to accept their disability as diversity. They have to come out for their rights, not for the charity, not for any other thing. Only this way we can achieve an inclusive society. We can influence the policy maker, we can influence the decision maker, and we can make our policy legislation inclusive.
Wonderful. Zulkarnain, do you have any last words?
Okay,
quickly?
we are complete human being. We have different needs. That doesn't mean we are charity kind of thing. Accept yourself as a complete human being, and accept us as a society. For a society, accept us as a complete human being. We want legislation, proper legislation. We want our seats in parliaments and all decision making forums.
Wonderful. And Anita, any last words?
Yes, I want to say something to our society and every person who is seeing us, that के अगर पाँव नहीं हमारे तो क्या हुआ, बिना पाँव के भी हम हर दिल में समा सकते हैं. हम देख नहीं सकते इन आँखों से दुनिया को तो क्या, इन आँखों में हसीन ख्वाब तो सजा सकते हैं. अगर हाथ नहीं हमारे तो फिर क्या गम, हम सितारे भी तोड़ के ला सकते हैं. बोलने की कुव्वत अगर बख्शी नहीं खुदा ने तो हम फिर भी अपनी बात समझा सकते हैं. हम एक नियामत से महरूम हैं पर ना उम्मीद नहीं, इस दुनिया को भी अपने कदमों में झुका सकते हैं.
Wonderful, that's absolutely beautiful. And for people who don't speak Urdu, we will put the translation online for you today. And Abia?
I would say sustainable development goals is a responsibility of everyone. Take it at your own, like you have to contribute.
Absolutely.
And media have to play very important role. I would recommend to have the sign language interpretation at least for this show every year.
Okay, thank
This
you.
is really important because hearing impaired people are also looking and they need more information.
And we're here for you guys, so you guys have to give any suggestions that we will try to incorporate.
Thank you so much for having us. And I would say all the women and girls with disabilities, stay positive, be strong, and try to contribute by their own. So this is the one thing. And also the information, try to get as much information about your rights, because we are human beings and we have all the human rights. We are eligible for that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think they've summed it up very nicely. Be aware of your rights. If you have children living with disabilities, don't put them back on the don't put them on a back foot. You know, empower them for the future, so that, because we're not going to be around to protect them forever. On that note, you can log on to our Facebook fan page for any more information, which is with the name of World This Morning. Our Twitter page, World This Morning without a G. Our Daily Motion and YouTube page is World This Morning. The repeat will be at 11:05 p.m. this evening on PTV World and PTV Global. The timings have changed, I think, so you're going to have to figure that out yourselves, I'm afraid. But have a wonderful weekend. I will see you bright and early on Monday. Good morning.